The silence in the wake of her father. Steph was unpeaceful. It was suffocating. Evelyn moved through the inherited Victorian townhouse like a ghost herself. Each creak of the floorboards a reminder of the emptiness. She'd come to sort his belongings, sell the place, and bury her grief in practicalities. Then she found the mirror. It stood in the attic, shrouded in a dusty sheet. Not just any mirror. A full-length cheval glass in an ornate, black and silver frame. Intricate, unsettling patterns were etched into the metal. Twisting vines that resembled nerve endings. Flowers that looked like weeping eyes. It felt heavy, old and strangely cold to the touch. Drawn by a morbid curiosity, Evelyn held it down to the dimly lit master bedroom. The first time she saw it move, she blamed exhaustion, a flicker in the reflection, her untired face seeming to twitch. When she had an tea, then came the delays. Her reflection would turn its head a fraction. After she did, its blink would lag. The smile she forced, while talking to the estate agent on the phone, didn't quite reach the eyes in the mirror until a full second later. The cold trickle of unease started in her spine. The nightmares began. Vivid, fragmented scenes of her father, not frail and ill as he'd been, but terrified. His eyes fixed on something behind Evelyn in a familiar room. This room, he'd mouthed silent. Warnings she couldn't decipher. She'd wake gasping, drenched in sweat. The oppressive silence of the house pressing in, and the distinct, unsettling feeling of being watched. From the corner where the mirror stood, one weary morning, brushing her teeth in the ensuite, Evelyn froze in the small bathroom mirror. Her reflection was normal, but through the open door, in the cheval glass reflection of the bedroom, she saw herself still lying in bed. Yet she was standing right here. Panic seized her. She whipped around. The bed was empty. She looked back at the cheval glass. Its reflection now showed her standing exactly where she was, pale and wide-eyed. Had she imagined it? Sleep deprivation, grief, it had to be. But the incidents escalated. Objects went missing. Her favorite pen, a childhood locket, only to reappear days later in plain sight. Feeling suddenly wrong, colder, she defined faint, muddy footprints on the cleaned hardwood, leading from the mirror to her closet or bed. Footprints that vanished halfway across the room. The reflection's light grew worse. Sometimes it would hold an expression she stopped feeling moments before. A frown, a look of sorrow. The cold became constant, emanating from the mirror's surface. Evelyn started avoiding the bedroom, sleeping fitfully on the living room sofa. But the feeling of being watched followed her. She caught glimpses in windows at night. A figure standing where she was, her own face, but hollow eyed, wearing an expression of vacant hunger. Desperate, she researched the maker's mark on the frame. A stylized V entwined with an M. Obscure focal forums hinted at Veneficus mirrors, objects crafted by practitioners of forbidden arts to capture not just images, but essence. They were soul traps, prisons for reflections that grew restless, hungry for the life they mimicked. The final stage, the whispers said, was convergence. The reflection would become solid enough to step out, while the original faded. One rain last night, the power went out. Evelyn had laid on the sofa, a single candle guttering. The silence was broken by a sound that turned her blood to ice. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, coming down the stairs. Her footsteps, but she hadn't moved. Terror pinned her to the spot. The footsteps crossed the hallway, paused outside the living room door. The handle turned slowly. The door creaked open. Standing in the doorway, illuminated by the flickering candle, was herself, not a perfect copy. This Evelyn was slightly blurred at the edges, her skin unnaturally pale and smooth, like polished wax. Her eyes were void, reflecting no light, only the candle flame like twin points of cold fire. She wore Evelyn's missing pajamas, and she held the missing childhood locket. "Hello, Evelyn," the reflection said, its voice a perfect mimic, yet devoid of warmth, humming with a strange static. "It's cold out here. Can I come in?" Evelyn couldn't scream, couldn't move. The thing that wore her face stepped inside. The candle flame dipped violently, casting monstrous, dancing shadows. The reflection moved with an alien grace, circling the sofa where the real Evelyn sat. Paralyzed, its cold hand brushed her cheek, a touch like dry ice. "You've been neglecting me," it whispered, its breath smelling faintly of dust and ozone. "Leaving me alone in the dark, watching, waiting. I'm tired of watching," its void eyes fixed on Evelyn as, "You want to leave now?" Evelyn found her voice. A raw scrape. "What are you?" "What you cast off," it replied, a cruel parody of a smile touching its waxen lips. "Your grief, your loneliness, your fear." The mirror caught it all. "Feel it. Let it grow. Know it. Wants the source." It leaned closer. "It wants you." Driven by primal terror, Evelyn lunged, not at the reflection but sideways, knocking the candle over. It sputtered, yawned, plunging the room into absolute darkness. She scrambled backwards, heart hammering against her ribs, crawling blindly towards the kitchen. Behind her, she heard the reflection laugh, a dry, rustling sound. She fumbled in a drawer, her hands closing around the heavy, cold metal of Amia tenderizing. She backed into a corner, weapon raised, straining to see any oppressive blackness, silence. Had it gone? Was it just waiting? Then a faint glow began to emanate from the hallway, not electric light, but a sickly greenish phosphorescence. The reflection stood there, illuminated by its own unnatural light. It held something long and sharp, a shard of the ornate mirror frame, broken off into a wicked point. Its time it staggered calmly, stepping into the kitchen. Time to step into the glass. It swarmed there, quiet, safe. Its void eyes gleamed. "Eyelines, take care of everything out here." Evelyn screamed and threw nger the tenderizer wildly. It passed through the reflection siren like smoke, meeting no resistance, clanging harmlessly against the wall. The reflection didn't flinch, it just kept advancing. The mirror shard held low and ready. "Flesh is so temporary," it murmured, its static voice right beside Evelyn's ear now. Though it still stood feet away, she felt its impossible cold breath. "The glass is forever." Evelyn did the only thing she could think of. She didn't edit the reflection. She turned and, with all her strength, hurled the heavy tenderizer not at the spectre, but at the source, the cheval glass itself, visible in the doorway to the hole. The crash was deafening. Glass exploded in a shower of glittering, jagged shards. The unnatural green light flickered violently and winked out. The high-pitched, yet inhuman shriek tore through the house, seeming to come from everywhere and not here at once. A sound of rending, of furious negation. Silence crashed down, heavier than before. Pitch black. Evelyn stood trembling in the kitchen corner, gasping. The only sound her ragged breathing and the tinkling of fallen glass fragments. Was it over? She fumbled for the light switch. Fluorescent light buzzed at harshly, illuminating the wreckage in the hole. The cheval glass was destroyed. The frame twisted. The silver blackened yet further as if scorched. Shards littered the floor like frozen tears. No sign of the reflection. Relief, cold and shaky, washed over her. She slumped against the counter. Tears finally coming. Hot, human tears. She drew on. She destroyed it. Days later, the house sold quickly. Evelyn packed the last box, ready to leave the townhouse and its horrors behind. She paused in the empty master bedroom, now stripped bare. Sunlight streamed through the clean windows. No cold spot, no sense of being watched. She walked into the ensuite bathroom to splash water on her face. She looked up into the small mirror above the sink. The face staring back was hers, exhausted, relieved, straight, normal. Then the reflection smiled, a slow, deliberate curl of the lips. That Evelyn had made its eyes, for the briefest instant, reflected not the bathroom light, but a deep, impossible greenish phosphorescence, like the glow of rotting wood. The smile didn't reach those eyes. It was a smile of infinite patience, of something settling deep within. Evelyn's sound smile died on her lips. Her blood ran cold. She hadn't destroyed the mirror's essence. She'd shattered its prison. The reflection was confined to the cheval glass. Anymore, it wasn't out there. It was in the glass, every reflective surface, waiting, patient, and now, it was inside her own reflection, closer than ever. The convergence hadn't been stopped, it had simply changed venues. The thief was gone. It had found a new, more intimate mirror to call home. The cold feeling returned. not from the room, but from the pit of her stomach, spreading outwards as she stared into the eyes of the thing that now shared her reflection, waiting for its next chance to step out.